Hello and welcome to Stockton Junction. In today's video I'm going to be covering static grass, and before I start working on the area that we're going to work on, which is along these banks here, and I've already started on this area here with the first layer, I just wanted to discuss what I think looks wrong and right with grass applicating. And here is a bit that I've done previously, and as you can see it's all just grass, all the whole thing grass. And down there, okay, there's a couple of different layers, but it doesn't look right, it doesn't look natural. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply the grass with patchy parts and then in different layers, etc., and create something that looks more realistic. And then we have various stages of this to go through. So this is the first stage that I've been doing here. So what I should do, just set the camera down, and then I can get started. So obviously, as always, I use my Mod Podge matte paint, PVA, and I start applicating it with a brush. I don't squirt all the glue on because I don't want the whole thing covered. And what we're looking for is to dab various sections, as you can see, leaving out some bits. I mean, you can put more on some areas than others, but don't cover everything. It just doesn't look right. And if you want to put trees and bushes and things in, then quite often, like for instance where there's a tree, you'd put it somewhere like that there, because where the actual tree sits wouldn't necessarily be grass all the way up to the base of the tree, because the shadow of the tree tends to stop the grass growing so much. So and also don't forget, I want to add some other layers of grass as well. So what we're doing at the moment is we're just putting on the lower grass, and I've got a mixture in my machine. I haven't got just one type of grass. When I buy different packs of say 4mm, I quite often mix them together, because when you do look at a picture of a grassy area, you'll see that there is dry bits, there's brighter bits, darker bits. There's never, or very rarely, is all one colour. Right, so I'm going to stop there because it's starting to go off camera, and also I probably wouldn't be able to shake the machine because the camera is in the way. So I might have to move the camera in a minute. Right, so what I've got in this one is a mixture of spring, mixture of a bit of dead grass, a little mixture of all sorts different. There's all different types in there, and it's between 2 and 4mm. So I'm just going to set up my applicator, which is here, and then just doing a small section at a time. going to try and move the camera back a little bit now because it's in the way, and we'll just adjust that slightly. So what I do is I keep shaking my applicator until I've got a good coverage on each piece of the glue. The good thing about, like I said, the Mod Podge is that it will dry clear and matte, so if you have missed a patch of glue or it's not very thick with the grass, it won't really show up. But as a general rule, you can usually see when the bits of glue that you've put down are covered, and I think that's near on done there. So I'm just going to put my applicator down, switch it off. So I put the grass on. Now we just need to wait for a few seconds or a minute or two, and that will dry off. What I do tend to do though is something that a lot of people don't necessarily do. I'll show you now. I know that the method is done by a lot of people, but maybe not at this point straight away. So I'm going to get my hoover, and I do apologise if it's a bit noisier. And what I'm going to do, I didn't empty it from last time, is get a piece of an old bit of tights or something, put that across the end of the hoover like that and hold on to it. So when you put your hoover on, otherwise it will suck straight in, so you need to keep a good hold of it. Now what I want to do is just hover above these areas, and what that will do is it will start to pull all the loose ones away, but also pull the grasses upwards, any that are on the angled bits that are laying down a little bit. So if you can see that, just going to suck up the loose stuff on here first. Be careful not to let go of the end of that until the hoover's switched off, because I've had that before where I suck it in. You can pull it out, and I've got quite a big ball of grass there that I can reuse. So rather than wasting it, that gets reused, gets dropped back in the pot. So what we've got now, as you can see, is a nice patchy grass area. Looks pretty good. Right, so the second part of the video, after the first layer's dried, what I'm going to do, as you can see, there's lots of gaps. I'm not going to fill all the gaps. I'm just going to do some patches in between around the edges of some of this. Some bits can have more than others. So we just do that section for now. So obviously this was the 2 and 4 mils. There might be a few sixes mixed in there as well. I'm now using all the 12 mil. So this is 12 mil beige and 12 mil straw. Oh, I forgot to put the earth on. Not going to work as well until I do. There we go. So giving that a good coverage. That'll do. So obviously all the stuff on the base down here isn't got glue on. So I'm just going to give that a brush away, pick that up and stick that back in my tub. But if you get a patch like I have there, where I've got the glue that's come off because I've caught it, it's not so bad. Just grab a bunch of this, stick it in the glue like that. That'll stay quite well, and then when it's dry you'll be able to pick off the looser stuff like that. So I'm going to leave this to dry now, so probably a couple of hours I think, and then we'll move on to the next stage after we've hoovered it down. So, and yes, there is another stage. In fact, there's a lot more to do yet to make this look good. So I will see you shortly when I come back. So this has all been dried and I've hoovered it all off. So we've just got a few bits of tall grass in between the shorter grass. Looks pretty decent. So we're going to move on to the next stage, and yes, there is another stage, as I said. So I'm going to improve this even more. So what I'm going to use, and this is just a start off, because after all this is done I will still add more plants, trees, things like that as well. So it will still be more, but I won't be adding any trees until I've finished all the further back areas, because I don't want to damage anything sticking up. So that will be done a lot later on. That'll be probably the final stage of this whole area. So what we're going to use on this area, well, the things I'm going to need. So I've got my 50/50 matte PVA mix, which is the exact same mix that I use for my ballasting. I'm going to use fine turf weeds, a bit of blended turf green blend, and I've got 3 lots of clump foliage. So we've got the light green, dark green and medium green there. So I'll probably be using some of that in different places. I'm going to move those out the way because we don't need those just yet. So those 3 are last. I also have, which is a purchase from eBay a few years back actually, I bought a whole load of coloured scatter. Now I thought it's an awful lot, but I tell you what, I'm using quite a bit of it now lately. So I'm going to be using the white, the yellow, and a little bit of this sort of purpley one as well, just for basically this is going to represent like dandelions and dandelion heads or flowers of some description, and same for that. And obviously I saw a great video a little while back on making dandelions where they used a pin and just stuck a blob on it and painted it, but obviously that was obviously a bit oversized. When you look at real scale, dandelion in real life is probably what, an inch wide, 4 millimeters to the foot. That's not even what, half a millimeter or something. So a little tiny grain of this is actually probably dead on scale for a dandelion head or a, you know, a dandelion flower. So things like that, so I'll be using those as well. So I shall, the other thing I will need is I've got my spray bottle with my isopropyl alcohol, which is 70%. Hopefully I don't have any issues, because last time I used this sprayer to do my track ballasting, it was playing up a bit. It wasn't spraying very well. I might need to go out and purchase a new bottle. I've had this one for about 3 years now, so it's had a good run, especially when it was only about £1. Emptied the contents, washed it out and used it. It's also, if you're going to buy anything like this, it's a fine mist spray. It was a hair product, ideal for spraying your iso. Anyway, so we shall move on to the next section. If I can set the camera up, I'll try and get a good angled view on it all. So hopefully you can see all this area nicely. So what I start off with, I'll just start off with the green blend, and then I'll work with the weeds as well, and I shall put some in the lid because I'm going to be doing quite a large area on this, so I'll be using a fair bit over the next hour or two. Not that the video will be that long, I'm just going to do this small section and just show you. So what I tend to do is just, I'm probably slightly off camera at the moment because I'm working from this end, so I'll be with you in a second. Literally just getting a pinch and dropping it over the grassed areas. And what this is, the idea of this is it's to represent smaller little plants or leaves on other plants. It might only be minuscule, but if you're doing a zoomed in shot, it's going to make a lot of difference. Obviously in some patches you can put a little bit more than others, but you don't want to overdo this because obviously there's lots of different layers going to be going on. So I shall stop at the end of this thing here, which is actually probably just slightly out of camera shot. So that's that one. Now I'm going to put my weeds in here, which is a slightly darker, as you can see. I think it's a slightly darker colour than the other one, so I should start again. This one I don't mind putting a few on the earth patches because they're little bits of weed. Weeds spread quite a lot, don't they? So, but it's all about just putting a fine layer. It just adds more tone to the area. And that's enough. Then we can look at flowers. So I think I'll do is the purple flowers. I'm just going to put in a few small areas. In fact, it's quite bitty, this stuff. a couple of larger lumps are just breaking up there. I want to concentrate more on trying to put this. I really need to put this through a sieve before I use it, because I keep getting big lumps like that and I don't want that. Right, so just a little bit of the yellow. I'm just going to get rid of one clump that's there. Break that up. And maybe add just a little bit of the white as well. In places. Obviously, if you're doing a wintertime sort of scene, you wouldn't want all the flowers, but you could still add the tones of greens in the base and maybe some other colours as well. Just deciding. I mean, you don't have to do all the area. I chose to do quite a few along there, so I don't know how well that's coming out on the video, but I should just give you a close-up look. You'll see it's starting to look like lots of little flowers mixed in with the grasses. I think that looks pretty good. Try and set the camera back again to give you a good enough view. So at this point, if you wanted, you don't have to do this. You could start adding some bushes. Obviously, this is purely up to you. I don't actually necessarily want all of these bushes on here, but I'm just going to do some just to show you how this all works, because obviously I'm going to be doing some other type things mixed in with this as well, so I really want this more of a grass bank. And a few trees. I'm just going to put some on just so that you can see how this works. I think a few are on there. You can always just glue these on later if you want to add more, or not put them on, but you don't need to do them at this stage. I'm just choosing to do a few now. So we've got that section sorted, so now it's time to layer that all in place, and this is where the glue comes in. Just going to give it a good mix up because I've only just made this glue up. And again, always use the matte PVA if possible. And I'll when you see my next video where I'm doing this bit, I've already done some of this video. You'll see that the effect that the gloss, the normal standard PVA, has had on the area, which I don't normally get with the matte PVA. So another reason why I am so sort of like going on about using the matte all the time. So I'm just going to set my little dropper bottle up, and the next job is to spray with the isopropyl alcohol. And again, this is very similar to the track work, and the whole idea of this is to help the glue flow. It also stops all of these little bits moving around. Obviously, being on a slope here, it's probably a bit harder than when I do the flat areas. It does tend to not move with this, so I haven't tried it with the angles yet on the bank, so this is going to be a bit of an experiment at the same time. And then with my dropper, if you can see that, I'm not going to spray it out, I'm just going to literally just drop. It does take some time, and I want to do it gently so that we don't move all of the items, but then that's what the isopropyl was for. It stops them moving so much. But obviously if I gush it out, it's still going to move. Now you might think this looks awful, but when it's dry, promise you, you won't even see any of this glue, and it will look great. And there's obviously also something else you can do at this stage. I'll just show you. In fact, I didn't get that product ready, which is typical. Now I can't find what I'm looking for, which is always the way. Well, I can't find the thing that I'm looking for right now, so I'm going to have to skip that one. I can always come back to it. Preparation is key always, but where you've got these bushes and they're now wet on the top, you could just sprinkle some like knock leaves or gauge master leaves on the top of them. Failing that, a bit of scatter, because I haven't got any leaves available because I can't find them. Just adds a little bit of depth to the bushes. So I'm just going to carry on. Done another bush over here, so I'll just put in some leaves on that one. It's just slightly out of camera, I apologise, but now we'll go back up the other end. I just missed a little section there. Try not to overdo the glue as well, because you don't want massive runs coming off down onto this area, but as it's matte, it shouldn't be a problem. Hence why I use the matte glue. for anyone in any doubt, what I will do is the next stage of this video, I'll come back when this is all dried just to show you the finished job. Don't know what that was, but that was in the glue. So it's just, I would have rather used the leaves on these bushes, but that will be better than nothing. That's definitely better than nothing. And I've used this technique in other areas on the layout and it works really, really well. Also, putting the glue like this on these bushes hardens them up quite nicely, so they're a bit more secure when they're on the layout. So I've finished this section. I think I might need a little tiny bit more glue over there. If you see any areas of plants that aren't covered, obviously if you don't glue them, when you hoover up an area, you might suck them up. So this is very helpful doing it this way, because if I wanted to just hoover over the top of this to get any dust off, I know that none of this is going to come off. So obviously, as you can see, there's my little bushes with some of the scatter on. That will obviously look better once they're fully dried. All the stuff is glued in all the way up. Obviously I've got to continue all the way down on that section. I've got all that back area up there to do as well, but I won't do that for the video. What I will do is I'll carry on doing all of that later, and then when this is dried fully, which will probably be by tomorrow, or maybe late tonight, I'll come back and show you how it looks. I think you'll be quite impressed with the final finish of it. So, and I hope you gain some knowledge out of this video. So I'll see you shortly. Right, so you join me back. It's not quite dry yet, but you can see the glue's almost drying. It's looking pretty good. I'm quite impressed with that. So I've done, sorry, I just got to move the camera, all up this end as well. You can see that there is still glue there drying, so it will take a while. But if I show you this back area that I've already done, this had the same process. As you can see, it looks fine. That's what it will come out like with all the little flowers on when it's dried off. So all in all, it still looks really good once it's dry. And you see, actually looks like little flowers on there. I think they look really good. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button if you found anything useful, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. So thanks for watching. Goodbye.